They can't keep getting away with it! I imagine that's what BMW thinks every time Ducati sweeps the competition in World Superbike. But seriously, Ducati's prowess in motorcycle racing is nearly incomprehensible. In an era where true blue race bikes are a dying breed, Ducati's out here continuously improving, evolving, and innovating year after year. Shareholders be damned, this is about the love of the game, baby! The 2026 Panigale V4R, the homologation special made solely for the purpose to compete in World Superbike, is the crown jewel of Ducati's engineering achievements for road-going motorcycles. They're able to make nearly 240 horsepower from a naturally aspirated 998cc V4 engine. That is completely bonkers. That's like supercharged H2 numbers from a bike that weighs 427 pounds, wet and ready to ride. So today, we're gonna dig deep into this bike and figure out what sort of black magic they've got working under the hood and why it's important that bikes like this are still being built. Now, you've probably noticed that much like Shark Week on the Discovery Channel, it's Ducati Week here on Yami Noob. And the reason for that is that this Panigale V4 is a giveaway bike on my website, yaminoob.co. Now, this is a short sweepstakes. You only have a few days left to get entered to win this motorcycle and $2,500 cash. We only did this one for 7 days. We're trying to keep things fun and fresh here. So click the link down below when you're done watching, pick up a hat, a hoodie, a t-shirt, or any piece of merch, and you'll be entered to win. You can also become a member and automatically get entered to win and get exclusive access to our Discord server and other perks. This is a once-in-a-lifetime giveaway for this pasta rocket, so make sure you got your chances locked and loaded. Okay, get your tiny espresso cup and polish your anodized dry clutch cover. Let's begin. When I talk about sport bikes, I always mention the word homologation, but a 5-syllable word? Something tells me a lot of these smooth-brained super squids just kind of smile and nod when their buddy talks about his M1000RR. But don't worry, your Papa Yam is here to explain it all for you. Homologation is when a boy superbike and a girl superbike love each other very much and then they come together. Wait, that's a totally different video. Homologation is what allows a motorcycle to be raced in World Superbike. This series is supposed to be based on production motorcycles, so manufacturers can't build one-off prototype machines like they do in MotoGP. Each competitor must meet production and technical requirements, and this keeps things fair for all factory teams. Well, sort of fair. I mean, Ducati still destroys the competition with little difficulty, but can you imagine how unstoppable they'd be if those requirements and stipulations were not put into place? But still, that doesn't mean these homologations are just any old production motorcycles. Bikes like the Ducati Panigale V4, BMW M1000RR, or Yamaha R1M are examples of a manufacturer throwing everything they've got at a bike to make it as race-ready out of the box as possible. We're talking more powerful engines, higher spec braking and suspension components, and lots of carbon fiber for weight reduction. Bikes that demand as much respect on the global racing circuit as they do at Bike Night or on Instagram. These are the ultra flagship bikes that demand mid-5-figure price tags. Manufacturers probably hope the select few thousand purchasers would be buying these bikes to put them to the test in their local racing organizations, but let's be real, half the time they end up in the hands of a middle-aged lawyer with MotoGP VIP village passes, or even worse, aura farming clout goblins on social media. Some bikes built for homologation have become some of the most legendary models in history. The poster bikes, the ones that represent a motorcycle manufacturer doing what they do best. You've got the venerable Honda RC30, a 748cc V4 with a single-sided swing arm and those iconic dual-round headlamps. In the hands of racer Fred Merkel, this bike won the first 2 World Superbike Championships in 1988 and 1989. Then you've got Yamaha's FZR 750RR, the OW01, the moniker that indicates its racing purpose, not the type of engine oil that it uses. Common misconception, you'd be forgiven for thinking that. And of course, we cannot forget Ducati's own 916 SP, the ultimate iteration of the Desmo Quattro superbikes. As far as factory motorcycles go, these machines were the pinnacle of design and engineering. Forget bikes as transportation or leisure or comfortable, these were distilled from pure motorsports drive and passion. And that's important. It was important back in the late 80s, and it's equally important now. The World Superbike Championship crown is not the North Star for manufacturers anymore. They're far more concerned with mass appeal and profitability. And a $50,000 superbike that makes well over 200 horsepower does not have the endearing approachability of a Royal Enfield sold by the millions each year. Most manufacturers have kind of abandoned their flagship superbikes, left them to collect dust in showrooms where they'll remain as artifacts of a bygone era. Except for Ducati. Even now in 2026, Ducati is still completely obsessed with racing. Maybe more so than ever before, actually. I mean, they built a Desmo motocross bike just because they could. That might have been a bit of a marketing exercise, but for the most part, there are no gimmicks behind Ducati's approach to racing. The Panigale V4R is not some cushy sport bike that is equally at home on the street as it is on the racetrack. And it's certainly not a motorcycle whose inline-4 engine dates back 2 decades ago. It's a masterpiece carved from stone by some of the most talented engineers and designers in the game. Well, probably carved from clay, but it would be cool if they did it in marble. Every single detail has been executed to the highest degree. Every world superbike limit has been exploited to the maximum, and as such, the results are proven. As a manufacturer, Ducati is in first place in the championship with as many points as the next 3 teams combined. In the Riders' Championship, the top 3 racers all have Panigale V4Rs. So we know the bike is good, and we know why these homologation specials are important. But what has Ducati actually done to make the Panigale V4R the most exciting production motorcycle on Earth? Well, let's get into the nuts and bolts. There's probably no better place to start than the engine itself. The Panigale V4R uses a 998cc version of Ducati's Desmo Sedici Stradale V4. You might be a little confused. Why do the street bikes use a bigger engine? Wouldn't that be faster? All these old dudes always say there's no replacement for displacement, even though their V8 muscle car is half as slow as someone's backyard turbocharged Civic. Well, the base Panigale V4, as well as the V4S, uses the larger 1103cc engine that is by no means docile, but it's very much more tailored for street duty than the V4R is. And trust me, these bikes are still ungodly fast, but by comparison, they're more civilian than the 998cc engine. It has a broader power band, a little bit more torque, and less intensive and frequent maintenance compared to the race bike engine. The 998cc engine, like I mentioned earlier, is designed to exploit world superbike requirements, like limiting the displacement for 4-cylinder engines to 1000 cc's. With less cubes at their disposal, they had to prioritize engine speed as the source of power. The V4R revs to an eye-watering 16,500 RPM in 6th gear. 600 squids will literally bust because the 599cc inline-4 in an R6 revs to 16,000 RPM, but that's got nothing on the 998cc V4 at Redline. That's the sound that keeps racing junkies and speed freaks up at night. And just take a second, think about that big engine revving so high. It's crazy. The V4R is able to achieve such a feat due to its absurdly over-square engine. The bore remains substantial at 81 millimeters, while stroke is shortened significantly compared to the 1103cc engine. That combination means pistons travel much less distance in the cylinders each time the engine spins. Less piston travel means the engine can rev significantly higher before the internals begin to undergo entropy. In other words, sort of break apart under its own power. And this high RPM is where the Ducati is able to extract nearly 240 horsepower from. Horsepower is just torque multiplied by RPM, so Ducati figured that if they could get this thing spinning fast enough while providing enough air and fuel with the help of Shell Performance Oil by Ducati Corsa, they could definitely make insane power despite the displacement limitations. This is a naturally aspirated engine, so airflow is the name of the game. An H2 makes 240 horsepower with the help of a supercharger sucking in extra air. And to get air moving, the V4R is designed to be as efficient as possible. The intake system, the throttle bodies, the cam profiles, the exhaust scavenging, all of it exists to bring in a ton of air and fuel into the combustion chamber. At these high engine speeds, Ducati's famed Desmo valve system also becomes a crucial piece of the puzzle. Because most other motorcycle engines use traditional valve springs, but desmodromic valves, a hallmark of the Ducati brand, are mechanically opened and closed. And historically, that allows for more accurate valve actuation at extreme engine speeds to avoid valve float at the top of the RPM range. Is this as much of consideration with modern engineering precision? Maybe not, but considering no one else uses Desmo arguments, you could argue that it's really not necessary to use anymore, but still kind of cool, right? But also, no other company's superbike can hold a candle to the V4R as long as it's not piloted by a once-in-a-lifetime phenomenon like Toprak Razgatlioglu. So maybe the Desmos are part of the secret sauce. At the very least, they're a fixture of the Ducati brand and a crucial component of their racing program for much of the last 70 years. Ducati spared no expense when it came to the other details of this engine. The internals are built to be simultaneously as light and as strong as possible. It uses titanium connecting rods, lightweight aluminum pistons, aggressive cam timing, and a counter-rotating crankshaft derived from the MotoGP program that helps reduce gyroscopic forces so the bike is more agile and eager to turn in. Because when you've got that much displacement spinning that fast beneath you, you need all the help you can get to actually get it leaned over on track. Because it turns out when you have a big heavy gyro spinning, it doesn't want to turn a whole lot. And look, I know you guys think that I always just simp for Ducati, but here's the thing. I love motorcycle racing. I love when people strive for excellence. And Ducati is one of the few brands that has remained loyal to that ethos since the beginning. Even now that they're owned by the Volkswagen Group, they're still positioned to invest in racing motorcycle developments first and foremost. And look, I love Triumph too, but Triumph has always been moving away from race bikes for the last 10 years and instead prioritizing approachable commuters. I also love Yamaha, but as it seems, Yamaha's glory days are in the rearview mirror for now. But Ducati is still Ducati. And sure, they sell adventure bikes and sport touring bikes, but the Panigale platform, in any iteration, shows that sport bikes are what they do best. Because they compete at the highest level in both World Superbike and MotoGP simultaneously. They're constantly developing new tech in places where that last 1% really counts. Now, there is one remaining issue when you have a 427-pound motorcycle that makes nearly 240 horsepower. It will be basically unrideable. Remember, this is a production motorcycle after all, so a couple thousand people will come to own them each production year. That would be a pretty serious body count for Ducati if they were shipping these bad boys out without the most advanced safety tech available. And trust me, take it from a guy who's taken an old school 1098 on track, that's about as much power as you ever want without any electronics. These full-blown rider aids are not just a supplementary feature, they're basically essential to ride this bike anywhere except for a straight line with 25% throttle. There is the Ducati Vehicle Observer that measures 70 different properties to precisely estimate the amount of intervention from traction and wheelie control systems. These are the very same systems designed to stop the rider from turning into Ducati Anniversary Red Mist on the outside of Turn 3. Would such an outcome be on brand? Yes. Ideal? Definitely not. To avoid getting too much in the weeds in the tech, I'll just summarize it as saying is these features are so advanced, these bikes feel like they're just riding on rails. The Panigale V4 in any configuration is one of those bikes that you could loan to an A-group track day rider and he'd immediately shave seconds off of his best time on his first go-around. As for the V4R, it's as if every feature, every component, every tiny detail, every massive winglet is designed for the intention of going faster around a racetrack. That's it. No street usability, no comfort, no Euro 5 Plus emissions, but just straight up lap time and speed. And in that regard, I think Ducati kind of knocked it out of the park. And probably will continue to do so for the foreseeable future. Unless maybe ZX Moto enters World Superbike, then maybe everybody's just cooked. Thanks for making it all the way to the end of the video. If you have an undying love for Ducati as much as I do, you're in luck because as I mentioned previously in the video, we have a brand new Panigale V4 up for grabs in a super short, super exciting giveaway at yammynoob.co. And it is this Panigale V4 right here. And trust me, unless you're a privateer racer in World Superbike, the V4 is more than adequate for any riding you will ever do. This bike is so amazing and I am in such a privileged position to be able to give it away to one of you in the audience. It's truly the best thing about what we do here at Yammy Noob. So head over to the website, become a member, learn how to lock in your automatic entries or pick up a piece of merch and get entered to win. It's only live for the next couple of days. Don't miss it. Thanks again for watching. I will see you in the next one. Fact: in 2008 in Italy, a court banned a couple from naming their newborn son Venerdì, the Italian word for Friday, ruling that the name would expose the child to too much mockery. Goodbye.